Hello and welcome to the High Fly Haunted. I'm your host Joshua Rush, and I'm here with something a little bit different. You see, in my first video, I mentioned that I really like Japanese professional wrestling, and I do. I really love Japanese professional wrestling. New Japan, All Japan, Dragon Gate, Noah, Wrestle 1 I've been wanting to watch, all that kind of stuff. However, I also like other forms of professional wrestling. I love British professional wrestling, American, Canadian, Australian, all that sort of thing. And recently I have come into knowing, I guess you could say, that's not a real phrase. Wow. Let me rephrase that. I have learned about a wrestling promotion by the name of WrestleGate Pro. Now they are a British wrestling promotion, and I learned about them through watching Wrestle Talk, a Wrestle Talk video, which they're a bunch of guys who have a YouTube channel that talk about wrestling. But if you are a wrestling fan and you're watching this, you probably already know that. So let me continue. Anyway, they were talking about this show, and they were talking about how their upcoming event, this 18th, will feature Bastard Pac, also known as Adrian Neville from back when he was in the WWE. Well, that intrigued me. What also intrigued me was the lion crest logo that they had, similar to the New Japan logo. And I was like, that's interesting. I don't know why, but I'm just going to look them up. And so I looked up their website, went to their pivot share, and saw that they only had 2 events they had done. So they are a brand spanking new promotion. So I have decided that I am going to review their first show, WrestleGate Pro Open Gate. And I'm going to tell you this now from the very start. I love this show. Holy fucking shit. I love this show. I'm spoiling it. But, okay, so before I continue on, I will say this. The reason why I'm reviewing the first show is that way I can prepare for the upcoming show, which I'm going to review. And I feel like since it's their first show, it'd be a good idea to go over it, even though it was just a couple months ago. Anyway, time to get onto the review. As I mentioned, my summarized opinion is that the show is absolutely great. However, let me go into a little bit more depth about just the aesthetics and all that kind of stuff that I really like. First off, the venue is great. I believe it's called Rushcliffe. I'm sorry if you're British and I got that name wrong, and it's pronounced some other way. Please correct me in the comments. But that's the venue that it was at, and it was actually a really good venue. The crowd was also very, very, very cool. They really were hot on the action. They were just really into it, and I always really like British crowds, but this one in particular was really cool. I also love a lot of the Japanese influences that they had in the camera work, but also the way that they had young lions, like in New Japan. They had the New Japan and I guess All Japan like turnbuckle pads that go all the way down the middle, instead of like it's just one pad that goes down all 3 of them instead of the 3 separate ones like you'd see in like WWE or Ring of Honor. I also like how they had streamers in the main event, so it's definitely a lot like Japanese influences. It was really cool. It also kind of reminded me a little bit of Ring of Honor circa 2004, which I guess makes sense because Ring of Honor took a lot of inspiration from both ECW and Japanese professional wrestling. So yeah, all in all, it was really, really cool to see all that. Now, the commentary, I will admit, I was not a huge fan of. Don't get me wrong, the 2 dudes actually seemed pretty cool, but for some reason, like, I think it had to do with their audio not being high quality. I should know because I have less than high quality audio equipment here, so I guess I can relate to that in a way. But yeah, for the most part, like just the aesthetics was really cool. I also like the blue ropes and the blue ring apron with the black canvas. It was just really cool. Now, going on to the first match, that was a title. The first match was actually a title defense The WAW TV Championship was defended by Ricky Knight Jr., who was the champion, against El Phantasmo. Now, El Phantasmo I've actually seen wrestle in Revolution Pro Uprising 2017. I don't have much knowledge about Canadian wrestling, which is where he's from. He's from Canada. Nor do I have as much knowledge on British professional wrestling as I'd like, but I've seen El Phantasmo do stuff. He's pretty cool. Excuse me, burped. Now, Ricky Knight Jr. looks like a goddamn stud. Dude was chiseled, and his zebra gear was more pleasing than I want to admit. Like, he had like zebra print trunks, zebra print like knee pads, I think. Just, it was really, really weird, but really cool. And the match starts off with both of them shaking hands, similar to Ring of Honor's Code of Honor, or a lot of other wrestling promotions where they have you shake hands. And the start of the match is pretty even. Neither one of them has a distinct advantage. They lock up. They have a feeling out process. There's actually this one bit where Ricky Knight is his arm is locked up. So what he does is he puts his free hand on the ref and flips out of it. It was really, really cool. Both of these guys are very athletic, and the match is very crisp. It's just going from move to move, and the lockups are full of reversals. It's really nice. The first bit of dominance I see is when Phantasmo gets a neckbreaker on Knight, and he dominates for a little bit until he charges into Knight, and Knight gets him in a Death Valley driver. It was a really nice driver, by the way. And then later, like they continue to exchange blows and exchange locking up and all that kind of stuff. And then there's this bit where Knight goes for a twisting senton off the top rope, but he misses, and Phantasmo capitalizes on this by getting a senton in from the top rope himself, and then he goes for a moonsault, but he misses that, and Knight takes advantage of that by eventually getting him into a disgusting looking pile driver for the win. Oh man, I'm gonna say this match was a great first start. Knight was great. I'm familiar. I know of the Knight dynasty, but I'm not as familiar with them as I feel like I should be. And holy crap, this is a great introduction. I know about Paige, but other than that, I don't really know that many Knights. And holy crap, it's perfect. Fucking great start. Not a big fan of the WAW TV Championship belt design, but that's just my prerogative. Now, the second match is the Four Corners tag team match with Session Moth Martina and Terry Izzet versus Rory Coyle and Shax versus the Anti-Fun Police versus Jack Sexsmith and Visage. Now, this match is originally supposed to be a singles match between Shax and Martina, but then it starts off normally with Martina partying like I've seen her do in other promotions, and drinking beer and all that kind of stuff, and she's grinding on some of the fans, and she's grinding on the ref, and she's grinding even on the young lion in the ring, and she even grinds on Shax. The thing is, when Shax is being grinded on, she actually steps out of the way for her soon-to-be tag partner, Rory Coyle, to step in, and he's being grinded on. And then they both attack Martina, with Terry Izzet coming out to basically make the save. And so they declare that it's going to be a tag team match. However, that's when Jack Sexsmith and Visage, they come out, and they say they want to have a bit of fun. They want to cause a bit of trouble, and they find trouble to be quote-unquote fun. And that cues the Anti-Fun Police to come out, and it is declared as a Four Corners tag team match. Now, I'm going to say this now. The Anti-Fun Police, which consists of No Fun Done, who I've seen before, and I forget the name of the guy. The other guy. His name is I think Nelson. They call him Cadet Nelson. I don't know his first name, and if anybody knows the first name, correct me in the comments, please. I tried looking him up. I couldn't find him. I even looked up the Anti-Fun Police, and it took me to their Defiant page, and it showed me everybody except this guy. So if you can, like, correct me, that would be fantastic. However, the Anti-Fun Police are fucking adorable, and I love them. Just the cadet, just an adorable little guy. And the match starts off pretty normally. It actually starts off with Martina and this cadet in the ring, and Martina is basically like just like making fun of the fact that this kid is like probably younger than most of the people watching this. I think he was like 16 or 17. But yeah, that goes on, and it's pretty funny until Dunn comes in and attacks her from behind, and then it just kind of devolves into chaos. Visage at one point throws his wig at one of the opponents. Honestly, the standout star for me in this match was Terry Izzet. He was very athletic, and he just in general looked really cool. Shax was also really cool. I liked her demon princess character, and it was really, really like a good introduction to these guys. The match gets kind of hard to call because it's just very, very chaotic. I had a hard time actually taking notes due to this. So if I sound a little spastic, that's kind of why. Halfway through the match, the rest of the opponents are outside, and Martina goes for a dive, but as she's like running around the rope, she starts to lose energy. So Izzet comes in with a beer and has her drink it, and then the commentary even said it's like spinach to her Popeye. And so she drinks the beer, she has the energy, she dives out, and then Terry also drinks the beer, and he also jumps out there, and then you got the cadet, the adorable little cadet, getting on the top rope, and then he jumps on all of them, and then the No Fun Done gets on the top rope himself, but Visage manages to grab him, and then he throws Dunn into the rest of the opponents. It was really, really, really cool. Then, no team is overly dominant throughout this match except near the end, and that is when Visage clears the ring, beats the shit out of everybody, but then Jack Sexsmith gets on the top rope and then double stomps his own partner's shoulders and allows Shax to get the pin. I also like when Shax got the pin, she just kind of walked in, looked at Terry, not Terry, but Sexsmith, and was just like, thank you. Like, she didn't say it, but there was just that look on her face as she just politely walked over to grab the pin. Overall, my opinion on this match was it was very fun and chaotic, and I loved it. It was just really, really cool. The third match was it was between hotshot Danny Duggan, a Canadian, and James Mason. Now, before I started writing my final notes for this, I actually decided to look them both up. And this was actually really interesting to me. Danny Duggan, he did a lot of wrestling in Canada. He actually, at one point, did a few WWE appearances. One time, a dark match where he lost to Jack Swagger. He was also a bodyguard for the 2000s, I believe, 17 contract signing fight contract signing between Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman. So that was like pretty neat. He also spent some time in Japan, and he also was the tag team champion, one half of the tag team champions for the company CWE, with his partner being the legendary signing to AEW, Kenny Omega. So that was pretty fucking cool. I didn't know that. So I looked that up. That was really neat. I also decided to look up James Mason. Now, he debuted in 1993, and he still wrestles very, very nicely. He actually kind of reminds me a little bit of, like, sort of like a British Christopher Daniels spliced with a little bit of, like, Kurt Angle. It's a very nice catch-as-catch-can wrestling match. It's just a lot of graps, a lot of grapples, a lot of holds, and just really cool, like, ring psychology. One of the things that I that kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit was the fact that they like to talk about how Mason has more experience than Duggan, which is technically true. But the thing is, Duggan debuted in 2003, so like they probably shouldn't call him like a rookie. That doesn't fit very well for me. But for the most part, it's really, really cool. Basically, whenever Duggan tries to do a move, the veteran Mason manages to reverse it, and it keeps going like that until Duggan starts to pick up momentum and starts getting a number of moves off. And there's this one bit where he does a move on Mason, and he goes to pin Mason, and Mason is doing I've never seen any of James Mason's matches before this, so if this is something normal that he does, tell me in the comments. I'll actually look up some of his matches. But one of the things that Mason does, sorry if you hear the road in the background, I live on a very major street, but anyway, James Mason does this weird thing where he's on his back and he's pointing to the ceiling, like as if he's taunting Duggan, saying, "Hey, you're not pinning me correctly." And I was thinking to myself, is that a shoot? Is this like is that him like actually telling him, "Hey, you need to adjust your pin"? And the commentary like it was even making comments about it, but I'm fairly certain it's part of the script, but man, it felt weird. Eventually there is this one point where Mason gets a very nasty cutthroat backstretch on Duggan, and Duggan, he sells it in his back really nicely. He makes it look like it's hurting quite a bit. And both guys just are really good. The match is fluid. There's a lot of athleticism between the two of them. If Mason, like, if this is not Mason in his prime, I kind of want to see some of his matches from when he was in his prime, like in the 90s and stuff like that. Yeah, great match so far. Eventually, Duggan does get a dirty pin, and he gets his feet on the second rope as he's going for the pin, and Mason is defeated that way. Not a big fan of that. I feel like, admittedly, I haven't watched the next show, so I don't know if there's like going to be, I don't know, comeuppance on this, but Duggan, I feel like Duggan would have benefited a little bit more if he got a clean win, but regardless, good match, amazing match, just not the best ending. Afterwards, Duggan cuts a promo on Mason, basically saying that he's better than Mason, and it was an alright promo, good heel work. And before the next match, Giselle Shaw is a female wrestler by the name of Giselle Shaw is revealed in the front of the crowd, front row, and basically they're really hyping her up in the commentary, so I decided to look her up. Unfortunately, like I said, I don't have as much of a knowledge on every wrestler in the British scene and other parts outside of Japan, so I had to look her up. And all I saw was that she tried out for WWE, and at one point was trained by Lance fucking Storm. I saw that she was trained by Lance Storm. I was like, oh, that's all I needed to know. Lance Storm. You're good. I don't. You're good. You're great. Amazing. Now, the fourth match that comes up is a match between a female Japanese wrestler by the name of Yu and a female British wrestler by the name of Aisha Raymond. Okay, when Yu comes out, she is goddamn adorable, and she's also a beast in the fucking ring. I hadn't seen any of her matches before this, but man, she's really good. Holy crap. And then Raymond comes out, and she's just this giant Amazonian woman, and her nickname is the Female Predator, and she actually comes out with a Predator mask, and oh my god, that's amazing. As somebody who loves Predator, oh, just And so you got these two badasses who apparently, like, I haven't seen many of Yu's matches before this. Normally she's, I don't mean this in like a bad way, but she is like bigger than most of her opponents. But in this case, Aisha towered above her. It was really, really cool. So Yu was the smaller of the two. However, she was extremely strong. And they actually, like, after Raymond refuses the handshake, they have a nice little lockup. And there's this one bit where Yu, like, picks up this giant woman and just, like, spins her around and then slams her onto the ground. And she also manages to pick, like, Raymond up later on in the match and tosses her. Apparently, like, she's, like, really skilled at judo, so that would make sense. But man, it was really cool. And Raymond herself was awesome, doing some really good heel work. She actually put Yu in a very, very, like, painful looking camel clutch halfway through the match. Raymond also, like, Raymond and Yu start exchanging strikes. I'm not gonna lie, like, those chops from Yu actually look pretty painful. There's this one bit where Yu tries to get an armbar, but Raymond goes for the ropes. Like she I think she gets her legs onto the ropes. And another point later on in the match, Raymond, like, playing on that heel work, she actually starts stomping on Yu's back, and Yu, like, sells it really, really well. And later on, she actually gets Yu in a stalling suplex. And there was this, the ending was, Yu was about to do a move, I believe, and Raymond reverses it into a very, very scary looking power bomb, and she picks up the win that way. I'm not gonna lie, that scared the hell out of me, but it was a great match, really good. I want to see, like, more matches out of these two. I'm actually probably going to look up more matches. Apparently, the commentary were talking about how Raymond was in the WWE Mae Young Classic. I haven't seen the Mae Young Classic, so I don't know. But I'll definitely look up the matches that she was in, because she was great. Yu was also fantastic. Both very, very good wrestlers. And there was actually this one point after Yu was out, Raymond was bowing to the crowd. She was also bowing to Yu, so she was, like, not being completely heelish. Then she goes out and she locks eyes with Shaw, and I can already tell, like, that would be a great match. I haven't seen what happens next, so maybe in the next show they wrestle. I haven't looked at that card, but I'll definitely look at that match, and or I'll definitely look at the next event and, like, mention some footnotes that I pick up from that when I review Lion's Spirit. But yeah, that was, like, honestly great. Now this next match, holy fuck. Okay, so it starts off, you have these two guys, Sean Custom from Australia and Niwa from New Zealand. And there's just this great dynamic. These two dudes are roughly the same build, roughly the same height, and they're part of the Australasian, I guess you could say, territory. They are part of the British Commonwealth. And there's just this Aussie versus Kiwi kind of, like, friendly rivalry going on. It's really, really cool. I like how these guys are pretty much equally matched. Both men handshake. Both men have a nice respect for each other early in the match. And they both lock up and they do a lot of feeling out, but then they also do a lot of reversals in the beginning. They're just super athletic moves. So good, so crisp. And the first nasty move that scared the shit out of me was when Niwa used his knee, like he collided his knee with Custom's face, and there was this loud, like, oh, I first saw that, I was like, no, ow, please, no, but it was great. There was this. Oh, there was this bit later where Custom gets a neck breaker on Niwa. Niwa rolls out, and then Custom follows him. And Niwa and Custom actually ram into the crowd barrier, knocking it all the way down. And okay, this part pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie, it actually legitimately. See, I am really big on crowd safety, and the idea of the crowd barrier like falling down that easily kind of like there was actually a criticism around this time last year where Jay White, I believe, I think it was either against Juice Robinson only, but Jay White in a New Japan show knocked a crowd barrier into the commentary desk and knocked over JR. You probably know about this, but that, like, when the crowd barrier is so flimsy like that, I don't know why, it just really upsets me. But anyway, they go back into the ring and continue wrestling. At some point, Niwa gets a Walls of Jericho on, and it's actually really, really cool. Like, as a fan of Chris Jericho, like whenever anybody does a really nice Walls of Jericho, it just really nice. Later, but yeah, Custom manages to get out. Niwa starts to heal it up a little bit more by actually scraping his boot against Custom's face, and later on, Custom actually like they exchange further, and then later on, Custom actually takes his elbow pad off, or his, I guess, elbow sleeve off. I think it was on his right arm, and he goes to charge Niwa with the elbow, but Niwa manages to reverse with a super kick and then an enziguri, both straight to the head. It was really sick, but eventually Custom gets back up and he's able to like toss his arm sleeve at Niwa to distract him, and then he slams that exposed elbow into his face. At this point, like, the match is still pretty damn even. Later on in the match, Custom gets a nice top rope spinning DDT on, and a little bit later, Niwa gets into gross looking power bombs. The second one was specifically terrifying because it was like a power bomb converted into like a lung blower or a lumbar check. Oh. Anyway, he Custom actually starts to like sell the back a little bit, and at one point both men go to the top rope. This was kind of like a small criticism I had, and Custom is trying to set up for a Spanish fly, and you can see Niwa trying to like help him set up for that Spanish fly, and so like they're having trouble with it. So Custom goes to the second rope, and they manage to get it off. It was a bit awkward to watch, but the Spanish fly itself was actually really cool. At some point though, Custom manages to get in his finishing move. Custom manages to get in his finishing move, the Customizer, and which is basically a Michinoku driver, like that was really, really, really cool. And he calls it the Customizer, and it's like he gets the win that way. Eventually, both men shake hands. Sorry about that. My mom came in. Both men shake hands, and Niwa like leaves the ring, and so an interviewer comes in, and he talks to Custom about like how the match went and all that kind of stuff. And just as Custom is about to speak, all of a sudden the lights go dark, and this video starts playing of this guy, Konosuke Takeshita. Sorry, I'm learning a little bit of Japanese, but even I still have a little bit of trouble pronouncing Japanese names, so if I got that wrong, please correct me. Yeah, he does a pre-recorded promo saying that he's coming to WrestleGate, and he's going to be coming in the next show. So I'm definitely going to be watching that show, because I kind of want to see like how that's going to go. And apparently, like, Custom challenges him to that. Really interesting to see how that goes. The sixth match of the night is Millie McKenzie versus MK McKenneth. Basically, it starts off with a handshake, and the commentary talk about how MK is kind of coming back from a hiatus and saying that he'll be a little bit rusty. I kind of feel like they do it in a way that kind of buries him a little bit, and I don't know how I feel about that. But Millie McKenzie, she is fucking fantastic. I was not really a fan of her before because I had seen her in Defiant, and I wasn't that big of a fan of what I saw. But this match made me really, really, really respect her. So the match starts off pretty nicely. Millie dominates for the beginning of the match, and there's this point when they start exchanging strikes. Millie has some really cool chops. MK McKenneth has some really nice kicks. Early in the match, MK actually lands a discus forearm on the back of Millie McKenzie's head. It's really terrifying to watch. I was just like, oh no. Yeah, Millie sells it really well, and actually that's when like MK McKenna starts to target the head, and he actually dominates the match from this point on. But there is one point when Millie starts to make a comeback, and she gets some good offense in, and there's this one point where she actually gets a really good DDT in that she rolls into a neck breaker. It was really, really, really good. MK tries to get a rear choke on her at some point in the match, but she's able to get to the ropes, and she also gets suplexed by MK McKenneth, but she responds in kind by suplexing him, I believe, either twice or 3 times. And there, at some point, Millie McKenzie actually gets in a spear, and she puts on a submission which causes MK McKenneth to tap out. Overall, this match is really good. As I mentioned, wasn't a fan of Millie McKenzie before this, but now, fucking perfect. This next match. All right, so I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have very many notes on this match, mostly because of the fact that it was just fucking insane. I couldn't take notes because it was just like, just move after move after move. It was basically, so it starts off, well, it's a fatal 4-way match between Callum Newman versus Maverick Mayhew versus Joe Lando versus Harrison Bourne. Now, all 4 of these guys are pretty young, and they're all very, very like smaller dudes. And actually, Harrison Bourne and Joe Lando are part of a tag team called Addicted to Adrenaline, or AW. And they've tagged in other promotions, so that's already an interesting story going into this. Callum is probably the biggest guy there, definitely the bulkiest guy. He does a lot of striking in this match. Mayhew just looks like a stud. I like his ring gear. I like the little beard on his face. I like his hair. All in all, he's just a stud. All 4 of these men, though, are, like I mentioned, very athletic. This match actually moves too fast, like even in the beginning. But there is this one point where A2, not A2. I looked at my notes and it says A2. It's A2A. I'm sorry, but yeah, A2A double team like the other 2 members, pulling off some weird move where Lando gets one of the opponents on the rope while Harrison Bourne delivers a nasty looking neck breaker. But then this match gets even further too fast to call. It's still like, ooh, and there's actually this one point where Bourne and Lando eventually attack each other. At one point, even Bourne delivers a top rope Spanish fly onto Lando and even breaks up a pin that Lando had earlier. And actually, Callum tries to pin Lando when he's down, but Mayhew breaks it up and goes for a pile driver that gets him the win. It was a very gross looking pile driver, but it was awesome. The match was amazing. The crowd gave a standing ovation after it was over. It was well deserved. Like, all these guys respect and they shake hands and like they just like bow to the crowd. It's really, really cool. And then this giant beefy motherfucker by the name of Lucas Steele comes out and he lays them all out. The crowd starts booing. He just destroys them. And holy fuck, this guy Lucas Steele, I almost called him Lucas Steele, looks like a fucking Adonis. He has a beautiful, like, clean-shaven face with long hair, and he is giant, just meat on meat, which sounds kind of gross the way I say it like that, but regardless, really cool. The 8th match, and second to last match, is a match between Bad Bones versus Mil Muertes. Basically, if you've seen AAA or Lucha Underground, you know who Mil Muertes is. A former mega heavyweight, or is it mega weight or mega heavyweight champion in AAA? Correct me if I got those up. And a former Lucha Underground heavyweight champion. I've actually seen both of these guys in different promotions. I've seen Bad Bones in WSW. I've also seen him a little bit in Defiant Wrestling. They both look really cool. Like, I love Mil Muertes' mask. I like how Bad Bones comes out in like his own version of the Macho Man Randy Savage attire. It was pretty cool. I will admit, I love a good hoss fight, and that's what this was. Just two giant hosses just beating the shit out of each other. Both men actually start like the match off locking up like I in my notes I put they lock up like bulls, and they actually start like going around the ring, like leaning against the ropes as they're both trying to get the dominant position. And there's a lot more lockups after this until eventually Bad Bones leaves the ring, and he actually throws a chair at Mil Muertes, who swats it like he is swatting a fly. It is really cool. Bad Bones, later on, he gets into the ring and they fight for a little bit longer. Bad Bones gets a move on Muertes, and Muertes rolls out. Now, this is a common like theme in this match. Roll out, roll in, roll out, roll in. And Bad Bones rolls out too, and they have a lot of shoving and punching until eventually both men get back into the ring. Until Mil Muertes is actually able to get a clothesline onto Bad Bones from the apron that knocks him to the floor. And then you have this giant Mil Muertes doing a fucking pescado on him. That impressed the shit out of me. Both men are outside of the ring at this point again. And at some point, they ram into the barriers, which fall over their crowd. And again, this pisses me off because the crowd actually had to extend their arms to keep the barriers up. And eventually, both men get back into the ring again. And Bad Bones gets in a few suplexes before Muertes rolls out again. And then Bad Bones gets on the top rope. And he does a double axe handle from the top rope to Mil Muertes on the outside. Both men fight in the crowd until Bad Bones starts to bury Mil Muertes in chairs. And this is kind of one of my biggest criticisms of this this whole event. The ref is fucking useless, okay? The ref is goddamn useless. And I get, like, they're taking inspiration from New Japan's referee, where, like Red Shoes, how you see a lot of wrestlers just grab onto the ref, which you can't do that in, like, I don't think you can do that in Impact either, but I could be wrong. But yeah, they're able to grab onto the ref. They're able to, like, do all this stuff to the ref that you probably shouldn't. And there's actually this one point where the ref takes a chair out of Bad Bones' hands. So it's not a no disqualification match, but Bad Bones takes the chair back, and then he's able to hit Mil Muertes with it, and the ref is just like, no, don't do that. And I'm just like, dude, you can disqualify him. You know you can do that, right? But anyway, eventually Bad Bones grabs the ref and throws him back into the ring. And both men eventually back into the ring themselves. Muertes actually starts to dominate at this point, and he even gets in a nice DDT. But Bad Bones starts to make a nice comeback, and he actually at one point goes for a code breaker, but Muertes reverses it. And at this point, they just are exchanging moves. Muertes gets in a powerbomb. Bad Bones gets in a few headbutts and starts biting Muertes' mask. Muertes eventually gets in a Canadian Destroyer that looked really good, and he actually goes for a spear later on, but Bad Bones pushes the ref like in front of him, so he ends up spearing the ref by accident. Muertes eventually is able to get Bad Bones onto the canvas, and he goes for the pin, but the problem is I think he pulls off his finisher, and the ref is still out, so there's no counted pinfall. Well, Before the next ref was able to come in, Bad Bones is able to get up, and he gets in, I believe it's called the Self-Justice, and an elbow drop from the top rope, just in time for a new ref to come in, and then he's able to count pinfall, 1, 2, 3. Bad Bones wins, and eventually him and Muertes shake hands, but then Bad Bones goes for a low blow and starts attacking him with a chair. Then Bad Bones goes to the back, and he's actually being interviewed by a commentary, well, not a commentary, but an interviewer. And he's basically like, you want to know what I have to say? You guys want to know what I have to say? And he just bops the interviewer on the head with the microphone. I saw that. I was like, ouch. And then he like grabs a young lion and just throws him like out of his way. My overall opinion on this match is it's kind of slow for my taste, but that's kind of the nature of a Haas fight. And as a Haas fight is concerned, it was really good. Now, this is where the main event starts. And holy crap. Holy fucking shit. This match. Give me a second to compose myself. 3. Alright, so this match is so fucking great. It starts off, both men look amazing. You have Chris Ridgway versus Jake McCluskey. And both, like I say, these two guys are studs. The crowd actually throw in streamers. They both come out. And like when they're both in the ring, the crowd start throwing the streamers. I'm sorry if I sound a little spastic. This is just too exciting of a match. The match starts off with a normal lockup, but then they both go to the ground with their lockups, and they reverse a series of holds. And at one point, McCluskey targets Ridgway's legs, while Ridgway targets McCluskey's left arm. They're basically targeting the strengths of the other. You got Ridgway wanting to take out McCluskey's really strong arms and elbows, and you got McCluskey wanting to take out Ridgway's very powerful legs. But yeah, still lots of good ground game as they continue trying to get the dominant position. They're both very equal at this point. Commentary also talked about how great of a striker and grappler Ridgway is, and he shows it off like a fucking king. He is amazing at it. Just lots of really good graps, lots of really good kicks, all of that stuff. And then the match actually, there's one point where they're exchanging kicks to each other, and you can just tell that Ridgway's kicks hit a lot harder than McCluskey, even though McCluskey's a little bit bigger. McCluskey, though, however, is able to get in a very nice drop kick in that, and he takes over for a little bit there. However, the match starts to even out, and they begin exchanging another series of strikes, with Jake going for elbow strikes and Ridgway going for kicks. It's very, very like back and forth, and holy crap, just like really, it kind of not to like steal from Steven Larson, but like Larson has this phrase where he basically says it's like a baseball bat hitting a turkey, and that's exactly what happened here. It was just loud and powerful, and there was actually this one bit where they're both kind of exhausted, and Ridgway gets in a nasty, gross head kick to the side of the head, and they both fall down for a 10 count, and they are both able to get it up before the 10 count is finished, and the match is just super stiff from that point. They just start throwing potatoes at each other. It is nasty. There is a point when Jake starts kicking Ridgway's chest, but Ridgway, he not only does he no sell it, he starts to deflect it with his shoulder, and that actually ends up hurting Jake's leg in the process. And at some point, both men are on even footing. This is shown when Ridgway tries to go for a submission while Jake reverses it into a pin attempt to break it up. So it's like nobody has a distinct advantage at this point. They're both like tearing each other down. Ridgway he starts to take over the match though completely as he gets in an ankle lock, he gets an ankle locked attempt. And then a disgusting kick to the back of the head. I know you use disgusting a lot, but it's really gross. It is brutal. I saw it. I'm like, no, please stop. This hurts. This hurts to watch. And both men start exchanging strikes again. And at some point, Jake takes off his knee pad to try and go for a very like hard knee, but Ridgeway reverses it. Eventually, Ridgeway holds down Jake's arms before he starts elbowing his head for the KO win. And like when the KO was called, I was thinking to myself, is he okay? Is Jake McCluskey okay? And luckily, like he was able to stand up, and both men were able to shake hands and show respect. And my overall opinion on this match, amazing. It's brutal as fuck, and and that is probably what kept it from being the match of the night, because like some of those headshots to Jake's head really, really, really like scared the fuck out of me. I mean, I know wrestling is scripted and all that kind of stuff, but like that looked painful. That looked really, really painful. I was worried. But yeah, now on to my final thoughts. This show, as I keep saying, was fantastic. I love the wrestlers, the ring, the action, all that kind of stuff. There were some things I didn't like. Like I said, I wasn't that fond of the commentary, but that's mostly because of their audio equipment. I kind of wish they tightened up the barricades, and I stand by what I said. The refs were fucking useless in this whole goddamn card. They were useful for a 3 count, and that's it. But yeah, please go, if you have the chance to, go watch this show, or wait until Lion Spirit is on the pivot share and watch that. Oh my god, I just an amazing show to watch. I would highly recommend anybody who is vaguely interested in a mixture of Japanese and British professional wrestling go and check. Now, time for me to give my plugs. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I am at HighFlyHan on Twitter. And if you want to follow my Instagram, I am still at HighFlyHan. And yeah, I have to say, like in general, this was really good, and I hope to see more from these guys. Anyway, I've been Joshua Rush. I've been the High Fly Han, and I'm very glad you took the time out to watch this.